So, how many times have you tried to build a good habit? Or, finally break a bad one, only to find yourself right back where you started a few weeks later? Yeah, me too. Today, we're cracking open the playbook that has completely changed the game for millions, James Clear's Atomic Habits. Let's dive in. It really all comes down to this one question, right? We all set these huge goals, we get super motivated, we start off strong, and then, well, life happens. That motivation just fizzles out, and we end up blaming ourselves, our willpower, our lack of discipline. But what if the problem isn't you at all? What if it's the system you're using? And here it is, the core of the issue. We try to hit a grand slam on our very first try. We think we need to transform our entire lives overnight with some massive, heroic effort. But honestly, that approach is just a recipe for burnout. It's totally unsustainable, it's overwhelming, and it's pretty much why we fail. And this is the secret that changes everything. The real solution isn't some massive action. It's about making tiny 1% improvements. These are what Clear calls atomic habits. They're as small as an atom, but believe me, they are just as powerful. They are the absolute building blocks of remarkable long-term results. This quote just perfectly captures the spirit of the whole book. We expect progress to be this nice, straight upward line, but mastery is never a single event. It's the result of all those hundreds, sometimes thousands, of small, consistent actions that came before that one final breakthrough moment. Okay, so it's really easy to just dismiss a 1% improvement, isn't it? It feels so insignificant. But what if I told you that that tiny gain, when it's compounded over time, is the actual secret to mind-blowing results? Let's take a look at the incredible power of just getting 1% better. For literally 100 years, British cycling was, well, it was a joke in the professional world, a complete afterthought with a long history of mediocrity. But then, in 2003, they hired a new performance director, Dave Brailsford, and he introduced this simple but totally radical idea: the aggregation of marginal gains. His team looked for a 1% improvement in literally everything. They tested different massage gels for faster muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach the riders the proper way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. They even painted the inside of the team truck white just so they could spot tiny specks of dust on the bikes. And the results? They were staggering. They completely dominated the next decade of cycling. That is the power of 1%. That story is just incredible proof of the concept. But how do we become our own Dave Brailsford, right? How do we actually engineer these tiny gains in our own lives? Well, thankfully, James Clear gives us a brilliantly simple roadmap for doing exactly that. This is it. This is the engine behind the entire system. You see, every single habit follows this 4-step loop. There's a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. So to build a good habit, all we have to do is optimize each step. We need to make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and finally, make the reward satisfying. Let's break that down. All right, let's tackle the first half of this puzzle, which is all about making our habits obvious and attractive. This is about lowering the barrier to entry. It's about designing a world where you actually want to get started. Our environment is one of the most powerful drivers of our behavior, and often in ways we don't even notice. Think about this. Researchers at Massachusetts General Hospital wanted to improve hydration. So without saying a single word to anyone, they just added water to every drink station in the cafeteria. And guess what? Water sales shot up by over 25%. They made the good habit the most obvious choice. And applying this to your own life is almost laughably simple. You want to eat healthier? Don't hide the apples away in the crisper drawer, put a big bowl of them right on the kitchen counter. You want to practice guitar more? Stop storing it in the closet, put it on a stand right in the middle of your living room. You just design an environment where your good habits are the path of least resistance. Okay, so next up, you actually have to want to do it. We're not just logical creatures. We're driven by emotion and the anticipation of a reward. So the more attractive an opportunity seems, the more likely it is to become a habit. And the cool part is we can actually engineer this attraction. So how do you do it? Well, first, you can join a culture where your desired habit is just normal. Think about a running club or a book group. Or you could try what Clear calls temptation bundling. This is where you pair something you need to do with something you want to do. For instance, you only let yourself watch your favorite Netflix show while you're on the treadmill.
And finally, just reframe your thinking. You don't have to exercise, you get to build strength and clear your mind. See the difference?
So making a habit obvious and attractive, that gets you in the game. But it doesn't win it for you. How do you make sure you actually follow through? Again and again. Well, that is the magic of the next two laws. Make it easy and make it satisfying. There's this brilliant story about a photography professor who split his class into two groups. He told the quantity group they'd be graded on the sheer number of photos they took. The more, the better. The other group, the quality group, only had to produce one single perfect photo. At the end of the semester, guess which group produced the best photos? It was the quantity group. By a long shot. They stopped trying to be perfect and just took action. And in the process, they learned. This is all about reducing friction. See, every step between you and a good habit is another chance to talk yourself out of it. So just remove the steps. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Put the book you want to read right on your pillow. And for bad habits, you do the exact opposite. You increase the friction. Want to use your phone less? Leave it in another room while you work. Make the bad habits inconvenient. And now for the final law, the one that really makes a habit stick. It has to be satisfying. Our brains are hardwired for immediate gratification. The paperclip strategy is just genius. The stockbroker started each day with one jar full of 120 paper clips and another one that was empty. After every single sales call he made, he'd move one clip over. That small, visual act of progress gave him an immediate hit of satisfaction that kept him motivated. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld has a really similar method for writing jokes. He gets a big wall calendar, and every day he sits down to write, he draws a giant red X over that day. And pretty soon, he has a chain of X's. After that, his only job is simple, but it's so powerful. Don't break the chain. The streak itself becomes the satisfaction. And all of this, it brings us to what is maybe the most profound insight in the entire book. This stuff isn't just about what you do. Ultimately, it's about who you become. Think about the story of the man who bit his nails his whole life. He tried everything to stop, nothing worked. Then, one day, he got his first ever professional manicure. And for the very first time, he actually felt pride in his nails. He stopped thinking of himself as a nail biter and started seeing himself as the kind of person who takes care of himself. And just like that, the urge, it vanished. His whole identity shifted. And this, right here, is the key. True behavior change is identity change. The goal isn't just an outcome, like reading a book. It's a new self-perception. The goal is to become a reader. When your habits and your identity are totally aligned, you stop having to fight for change. You're just acting like the person you already believe yourself to be. So let's just put the goals aside for 1 second and ask this instead. Who is it that you want to become? A writer? An athlete? A person who is consistently thoughtful and kind? Start there. Define the identity you want first. Because this is the real takeaway. Each tiny habit, each little 1% improvement is so much more than just an action. It's a vote. It's a piece of evidence you are casting for the identity you want to build for yourself. So the only question left is, who are you casting your votes for today?